All right, all right, all right. Welcome to another episode of the Dr. Kiki Ramsey Show. I am so excited for this show because we got so much to talk about, and we are going to be telling all the things on this show. Today, our show, we're talking about our exit plan. Today's guest is none other than my hubby, my better half, Dr. Jamil Ramsey, and we're going to be talking all about how we quit our jobs, got it wrong, honey. When I say got it wrong, and learned what actually works. And so we are going to get all the way into it on today's show right after this. All right, all right, all right. Okay, so welcome to the show.
Hey.
Right now, you're about to be a co-host, because you know it's a
There's
normal
worse
thing.
things in the world that can happen.
This is true. This is true. Okay, so we are going to be talking about our exit plan, how we quit our jobs, got it wrong, and learned what actually works. But here's the thing: this was prompted by a post that I posted on social media. And I'm going to tell everybody that, why this was prompted. But before I do that, I want you to introduce yourself to the Dr. Kiki Ram fam. Because you're not a guest anymore. You're like a regular, like on this show.
Dr. Jamil Ramsey, husband of Dr. Kiki Ramsey, 20-year IT professional, college professor, CTO for Picadie, coach, and all-around good guy.
Yeah, this is true. All-around good guy. And I know that this may be somebody's first time hearing your voice and listening to the show. So tell us what your superpower is.
My superpower is strategy and discernment. I like to figure things out and correct the path, which is why I'm in love with today's show.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. Okay, so let's jump into it, because I was very excited to be having this show. But prior to this show coming about, I, as a career coach and a positive psychologist, I do a lot of posting on social media. And so I posted this post on social media, and it was pretty much titled, How to Know When It's Time to Leave Your Job. And unbeknownst to me, I had no clue that this very post on my social media, mainly on Instagram and TikTok, would go viral. At this very moment right now, this post has been viewed over 102,000 times. I'm floored. And then on TikTok, I think the last time I looked, it had been viewed, I think it is, let's see here, 87,000 times.
Wow.
And we have thousands of comments and likes and everything like that. And I'm like, people are really, really feeling this post. And in the post, I talked about a couple ways or a couple things or a couple reasons why, or reasons you would want to quit your job right now. And I think one of them was the fact that you've tried everything and nothing still doesn't change. Because, we can be in environments where we do everything that we can and nothing changes and stuff like that. And so why do you think this post at this moment in time popped off the way that it did?
I mean, people out there struggling. I mean, the economy has not been going well since all these companies started pulling back from this pandemic spending. They're trying to get people to do more, pay less, work longer. So, and that's just the economy. A lot of times we get into positions just because, and we can kind of get stuck there. So those two things together is a powerful motivation.
Yeah, no, it is. And I mean, you're right. I mean, we are in a really interesting a really interesting time. And I was reading, all of the comments on this, and people were saying, it's time to leave your job when it's Sunday and you're crying because you don't want to go to work on a Monday. I mean, people are really, really in some bad spaces. And given the work that we do at PCADDY, we see this all the time. Cultures are bad and everything like that. And I always think about it, to us, it's common sense that an organization wants a healthy culture because they want employees to be able to come to work and be productive. But the reality is a lot of companies have terrible cultures.
They do.
Like terrible cultures. And so people are in this space where they're wanting, to quit their job. And so I've since posted some posts on social media to help people. And I'm hosting or have hosted what I call the exit plan, which is a coaching session for anybody who wants to really think about what it looks like to quit their job. But we're no strangers to this, right? Like, we're no strangers to wanting to quit our jobs. I know that for a fact. I've been, personally an entrepreneur for over 20 years. And so when we thought about this show, we were like, oh, you mentioned, oh no, we need to go back to the first time we quit our jobs. And I was like, oh my God, we have been at this for a very long time. So I do want to go back to the first time that we ultimately quit our jobs. And I want to know, from your purview, what that actually was. But I want to ask you, before we quit our jobs, what was our careers like to you from your vantage point?
All right, so let me frame this a little bit. That was around 2006-ish.
Yeah.
Which makes it feel like Groundhog Day because we was going through the same thing now. Yeah. like legit, we were newly married, relatively new out of school. And my feeling was, we didn't have the money we wanted to make. We were in the DMV at the time, and house prices was just ridiculous. And we wanted to own a home. We got into a home. We got into bad loans and all the same things that people got into back in the day. And we just had a feeling that we just don't make the money that we deserve. In my mind, I categorize it as I'm underemployed. When the truth is, it's just that my capability could only generate the amount of money it was generating. So that's where all our frustration started.
Yeah. But I always used to say, I'm like, we're too smart to be broke. Like, I literally used to say, and that was my mindset. Like, I don't understand why we don't have the money that we need to have, because we're smart people. We're resourceful. Why is it that we're in this situation?
I mean, a part of it was we were smart. Sometimes you can outsmart yourself. But the hardest part is that we were where our level would have us be at. It just wasn't good enough. It just didn't get us far enough.
Okay, so pause. Because you just said something that is so powerful, but it seems so simple, right? You said we were at the levels that we were at. But in our minds, these are not the levels that we were at. And I know from a fact, I keep learning that lesson over and over and over again. I want the job after the job. Like for me, I want the conference after the conference. After this level, I want that level. But I'm not at that level. But most people in the world are like that. We want the thing beyond where we're at in our situation. Why is that?
I think being in the business we're in the positive psychology business, most people don't have hope or the vision that what they're doing now is only temporary. You get stuck in this is it. and I need something drastic to change. We get stuck in that lottery mentality. We see people who we perceive to have make it big and make it fast, and we're like, oh, I want some of that. Bring that over here. I want to make it big and I want to make it fast too, because if they did it, I surely can too, and I deserve it just like they deserve it.
Yeah. Oh man. I know I used to look at so many people, right? Like and it looks like they did it fast, but we all know that there's no overnight success, but it just looked like it was. And so,
Yeah.
and so we were in this place where we were at, but we wanted to be, somewhere else. I know for a fact I wanted to be somewhere else. And so I was always searching. And so this opportunity got presented to us to quote unquote, run your own business. Now, let me preface this for y'all. This was back in the day where network marketing was huge. Y'all remember that time, baby. Like Mary Kay was Mary Kay-ing, honey. Like there was so many things going on with network marketing. So this opportunity was a network marketing opportunity, but I got sold the dream. I mean, when I say I got sold the dream, I got sold the dream. And so I came home having been sold the dream and, pressured you, tried to get you to join the business. And so what was going through your head when I came home and told you about the business opportunity?
I mean, I went. I looked at it. I saw potential. I saw the flash. I saw all the things that people see. So it wasn't like it was a hard sell.
Yeah. Yeah. And so long story short, y'all, I did, sell him enough that he, quit his job. So I was a social worker back in the day. And so I was, of course, noble profession, but I wasn't making a lot of money. So I was unhappy with the amount of money that I was bringing in. And you were still doing what, IT?
I was in customer support.
Customer support. So you were in customer support
Just tech support.
because you were still starting to grow your career and everything like that. And so long story short, I quit my job first.
Well, you were already contracting, so you didn't have a
full-time
job, but I left my full-time job.
Yeah. So with this business opportunity, I became a realtor. So that was part of it. And then Jamil became an insurance agent. So these were legitimate opportunities, right? Like, so I think like when we think about it, and when I think about it now, it wasn't all bad, of course, because the opportunities itself was legitimate. I was, tasked with selling real estate, and you were tasked with selling insurance. And so here we are doing this. And tell me, your thoughts when you started off in this business, when you left that, because you actually quit your full-time job to come into this business. And if I know now if I knew then what I know now, maybe we would have made a different decision.
No, if we knew then what I knew now, I never would have joined the business. What I ultimately learned over time is that I was running an insurance business, and I didn't particularly like insurance.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot, so it would have been better to get a job, because on top of having a job you don't particularly like or passionate about, you're also doing all this business building activities, and ultimately you don't own the business.
Yeah, you were in sales.
Yeah, so I was in sales.
And I was in sales too. But here's the thing that I learned about myself during that time. I am really, really good at going to get somebody's certification, or going to get some extra degree or something like that. So part of what I had to do, which kind of, made me feel like I was doing something was I went and got my realtor's license, right? And I took the test and all that kind of stuff. And I was a certified real estate agent. And I'm like, okay, great. This is great. And I thought that I was going to love it because I love design. I love, interior design. That is my jam. That is a hobby for me, but I think I'm really good at it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. But when I got into that business, baby, I didn't want to sell no houses.
That's not true. You wanted to sell houses, but you didn't want to deal with the people looking for houses.
This is true. Which ultimately is the crux of like that crumbling for us, because I realized that, real estate agents have to deal with so much ish from people. And, having bought several houses since that time, I'm like, oh, Lord Jesus, bless y'all's hearts, because that's a hard business. But you also had to go into people's houses and sell insurance policies. And you learned a pivotal lesson during that time, because at one point, one of our mentors was telling you to sell policies only at $200, but you had another mentor who told you something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A very simple thing. You have to meet people where they are. You can't impose your desires on them. You can't impose your budgets, your timelines, nothing. And when you stop doing that and you meet people where they are, I end up getting pretty good.
Yeah, you did. You ended up starting to sell a good amount of insurance policies. Me, on the other hand, I was floundering. And so here's for me where it came to head. I always wanted to be a professional speaker, a keynote speaker from jump. I just, I've always wanted to do that. And so one of the things I did ultimately, like in my mind, I wanted to be successful in a business, because when you were successful in a business, you got to speak, you got to motivate everybody else who was bringing clients and bringing people to the weekly meetings and stuff like that. And so I was sitting, I remember sitting in one of those meetings, and I started daydreaming about being the person on the stage. And then next thing you know, everybody was clapping and stuff like that, because the meeting was over. It was time for you to sell your guest on the business opportunity. And I was like, so why is it that I'm going this way to be a speaker when I can just learn how to be a speaker? Like, I can literally just go directly to figuring out how to speak. I don't need a business opportunity. And then I think that was the night I decided to quit. I decided to quit that business and learn what it took to be a speaker. But you didn't quit that same night. Tell us about like the rest of your journey.
My journey picked up right after I got with the second mentor and learned how to do the business and understood what it takes to be successful. And then I looked myself in the mirror and like, why put all this energy into this? Like you were saying, we're pretty smart people. I can do anything I want. Why this? So at that point, it was like, okay, I learned something important that from the positive psychology lens. I was looking at my job from a deficit point of view. But then I quickly learned how I prefer to have a bad job than no money.
Yes, because we definitely learned that. So I quit. I'm trying to figure out how to build a speaking business. I don't have a full-time job. I'm only a contractor, and we are struggling. And then Jamil, comes to this realization, why do this? Because this ain't helping as well. And so the efforts that you needed to put in and all this kind of stuff, it just wasn't going where we needed it to be. And so we found ourselves broke and in a desperate situation. I can remember that time we were so broke. Oh my God. I mean, when we talk about broke, y'all, we talk about repossession of cars, pre-foreclosure of our home and everything. And that's a bad place to be in.
Yeah, and it was the middle of the financial crisis, so I couldn't get back the job that I left. When I got a job, I ended up getting a worse job, and I was so happy for it.
I mean, it is amazing. Listen, it is amazing what makes you happy when you are in a desperate and terrible situation. Like I remember, because here's the thing, I what's so crazy about our journey, y'all, is that I'm a social worker. I literally have skills. I have a master's degree, but yet and still I believed in myself so much that I didn't go back and get a job. I mean, no, maybe I did. I think I went back to the hospital several times. So I
Hmm.
went back several times. I quit several times and stuff like that. But we were still underpaid, under resourced and stuff like that. And I remember when you got um the job, we were waiting by the phone or the email for an offer letter. Like, tell us that story, because that thing is
Yeah,
crazy.
so I called back one of my previous companies. They were still hiring because they always hire. It was phone tech support. It was back in my wheelhouse, so I was able to get the job. Well, I had a great interview, so we're just waiting. Like, when is they gonna tell me I'm back on? And then we walk outside one day, and there's a FedEx package on the side of the door. I'm like, these fools done sent the offer letter and the FedEx package. They could have just made the phone call.
Right, because we are literally waiting on a call. We're desperate, we're broke, we don't have any money, and they sent a FedEx package with the offer letter in it. And I remember I think it said $16 and like 66 cents. That was the salary. And when I tell you, we freaking rejoiced. Oh my God, we rejoiced so much that day, because it meant that, okay, we were gonna, finally have some, stable income back in the house. And so we got it wrong that first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so this is what I learned from our practice business. You can't scale $0. So before I decided at that point, before I ever leave for a business again, it's going to be a revenue generating business. You don't quit your job to figure out your business. You leave your job because you have an active, running, successful business, even if it's at a small scale. And then you can take your time to scale what you've already built. Like it ain't time to figure it out while you need money coming in. So that was the decision I made after that time.
Yeah. And
Thing,
grateful that you did.
yeah.
Yeah.
And second thing I figured out was it wasn't a job problem. Perspective got me that it wasn't an economy problem. It was a me problem. I identified some things in me that needed to change if I wanted to be successful and earn the kind of money I wanted to earn. So getting that first job was the first step in the things I needed in order to grow myself professionally.
Yeah, because after that, you ultimately went back to school and, and got, now you're Dr. Jamil Ramsey and all the things, right? I think during that time, I learned that I didn't need a ruse, right? To ultimately do what I wanted to do, which was speak. I didn't need something else in front of it to just go directly towards speaking. Now, speaking was still hard. I still was sitting there like, what are clients at? So that it wasn't hard, but I was also way more willing to go through the fire and what it took to ultimately build a successful speaking business versus the first business. And so I learned that passion definitely does matter. And your why really does matter as well, because if you don't have the why, then you're not gonna last. And both of us realized that we didn't have a why enough to stay in that job. The question became, why are we here? Right? Not like, why should we stay, but like, why are we here? So we really did get it wrong, because I think we quit for we quit without the cushion. You said that you learned, you learned that you can't quit a job without a cushion. And so when I posted this post on social media, a lot of people were like, I want to quit so bad, but I don't have nothing else, nothing else to fall back on. And I'm like, don't do it. Don't you do it, because I feel like a lot of times we will quit and we don't have, that cushion to fall back on. Talk about jump money, because I think that that's so very important right now.
Yeah, shout out to Pastor Battle at Zion Church. Our pastor was real big on entrepreneurship, but getting yourself together so that you have a shot of winning. So he said you need to do whatever you need to do to save, so you have your jump money, so you can go do your opportunity and figure it out without the the imminent threat of bankruptcy. So
right. So shout out to Pastor Battle at Zion Church in Landover or Greenbelt, Maryland. Jump money, that has stuck with us. I mean, that sermon was so long ago, but we still reference it to this day, because we really feel like you ultimately need jump money so that you can go out there and live your entrepreneurial dreams. And so here we were, you done got a new job, and then you realize that you want to go back to school. Right? Talk about that decision, because, there's money involved in that decision as well.
Well, when I went back, like I said, I knew that I had to create a plan for this next stage. And that's one of the things that helped me stay focused and have hope, because it wasn't going back into a dead end. Because trust and believe, leaving a job set us back in every way you can be set back in life.
Yes.
And when I went back to work, I was in a worse position than I was when I left. But I never felt like it was over. So I had a plan to transition my career. I knew tech support wasn't going to be it. I had coworkers, we were talking about the different routes. I had one coworker who went the Network Plus route, ended up getting a job as a network administrator. Before I got out, then I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going back to software development. So then I end up getting another job, similar money, but more opportunities, a more established company in the corporate space or corporate government space, and it had tuition reimbursement. So that was my next stage. I got a better job, making not more money, but more opportunities to advance my mission of improving myself. So I end up taking that job, figuring out that I need to go back to school to enhance my skills. So I made a phone call and said, babe, I'm going back to school.
I was like, what? I was shocked. Because I knew it could be on the horizon, but I was shocked. I was more concerned because I was like, Lord, we at this time we had more money, still struggling. But here's the thing. We had decided that you would work and that I would, live my entrepreneurial dream. Y'all, let me tell y'all what's so important. Who you marry is important. Like, I'm just saying, because you literally said, okay, I'm going to work. You go build a business, because I am an entrepreneur through and through. Like, it's in my blood, it's in my system. And you gave me that gift of being able to be an entrepreneur, even though had I went back to work, we would have been in a better situation. But I was unhappy. I was very unhappy. Why did you decide and I call it a gift because I don't think everybody gets that gift. Why did you decide to give that to me?
I wasn't giving it to you. I was giving it to us. We quit our jobs for a real reason. There is opportunity out there. The way we did it was just wrong.
Yeah.
So I was hedging bets. And I knew that I could make enough money to hold the family down. I think it took like 5 years, like between 2008 and 2013 to really get my entry level into software development.
Yeah.
And it was only a couple of years before I hit six figures, and after that, things started working right.
Yeah.
I remember we did the calculation of how much money I lost because I was I was so disobedient to my thought process of going back and making this transition earlier. If I would have did it when I first thought about it on the same trajectory I ended up on, I would have earned an additional $1 million over that time period. So that's how much disobedience cost me, not doing the things that I know I'm supposed to do.
I am clutching my fake pearls because I remember us doing that calculation and I was like, oh my God, that's so much money. And we don't realize the cost, right? Like when we make these, mistakes, and you called it disobedient, which is, a beautiful word, especially if you are a believer, right? If you are a believer, child of God, and you know what the calling is on your life, you know what you're supposed to do, and you don't do it. That's deep. I mean, maybe even talk a little bit about that, because
I mean, what was really attractive about the business was it felt easy. It felt easier than doing a full career transition and all the things that was necessary for that. And I wanted it, and I wanted it fast. I wanted not to have to deal with the rest of that part. And I wasted 10 years of not getting on the right track early.
And they say it takes a good 10 years, 10,000 hours, whatever that is, to build a successful career. So in that time, you and I both, right? But I was speaking during that 10 years, and it did grow into a very successful business. During that time, which I'm so grateful I had the time for. But yeah, you're so right. Like, had you started back then, things could have been different. Do you regret anything about that time in our life?
Absolutely. I regret the disobedience, and I regret the life we could have had if I was in a six-figure career 10 years earlier in our life.
Dang, yes. Like, there's a saying, and then people ask me, what's the one piece of advice you would give to like students or whatever? I'm like, here's the one piece of advice I'm going to give to everybody. Do the hard things now, right? Because I know me, oh my God, I spend so much of my time in my life trying to find the easy route, right? And to skip steps. But what I learned in the process is, number one, the easy route ain't gonna get you to where you ultimately want to be, especially if you're ambitious. Number two, you can't skip steps. Now, ain't nobody saying how long you'll be on the step, but you can't skip them. You got to go through all the steps so that when you get to where you ultimately want to be, you have all the tools and the resources and the knowledge that you need in order to actually stay there, right? Like to stay there, because people be getting there, but they don't stay there. And so that was very, a very pivotal, some lessons that I learned. Okay, so let's fast forward. Let's fast forward because here we are. And guess what? You quit your job again. You are the full-time CTO, Chief Technical Officer of PCADI, the Positive Psychology Coaching and Diversity Institute. And this time, we did it right. What were some of our conversations or some of the things that we put into place so that when you left your job this time, we knew that we were going to be okay?
First, understanding our budget, and then setting aside the amount of money we would need for a runway, having the revenue streams in place for the businesses right now, so we're not having to pay salary out of anticipated money. Like we want to,
Mm,
you know, we weren't going to quit to figure out how to run the business.
yeah.
The business had to be running and successful and have a path forward that didn't rely just on hope.
Yeah, and it did. Picati has been so fortunate because we have a great, great coaches, great product, great services, and stuff like that. And so you were able to be able to leave your job now, and we are in a much better situation than where we were 20 years ago when we did it the first time. And I want y'all to note that this is 20 years later, right? Like 20 years later. Now, since that time, I have been an entrepreneur. Like I have continued and I've stayed the course to be an entrepreneur. But we only ventured out to do this again 20 years later. Oh my God. Is there some significance for that, to you?
A little bit. And it goes back to what I was just saying, like that 20 years could have been 10.
Yeah, it could have been.
Yeah. And behind every overnight success story is about 10 years.
Mm, mm,
And I think
mm.
that's the thing that was biggest that I learned out of all of this is having a desire to be successful has to match the capability to be successful. And we
That
have
part.
to grow. We have to learn. We have to build skills. I mean, for you, I knew that you needed time to figure business out. I mean, it was a lot of lean years on the KRI side,
Mhm.
a lot of lean years on coaching, but
Yeah,
you needed the space in order to figure that out.
yeah,
That's what not being prepared doesn't give us space to learn and grow and pivot.
yeah.
But the people during this time, I still was in my entrepreneurial space too. Like I did the Founders Institute Tech Accelerator program because I was
Mhm.
still doing some entrepreneurship in the tech space. And what I learned during that process is this thing takes time.
Yeah,
Most people who end up becoming successful is on the back of multiple other opportunities and multiple pivots.
hmm,
And to a person, they all had somebody who was supporting them in the background.
yeah.
One of our mentors in that program talked about one of his $40 million exits. He was like, he couldn't have created that company if his wife wasn't working. And that's one of the things that solidified that I was making the right decision. We need to work as a team, let
Yeah,
her figure that piece out while I continue to grow because I mean it's not just I was growing a real solid career. I mean a career
yeah,
to which she wouldn't really have to work anymore. So, but we still have bigger ambitions. So we can take that and move to another level.
yeah, yeah. And I'm glad that we did because we're we're able to now do some really cool things around technology with PCADdy and coaching and stuff like that. And so I'm glad that we were able to get to this place, but we wouldn't be here if you didn't hold it down for 20 years, right? And so I'm super super grateful. So man, we've been talking. So before we leave,
Actually, actually, I want to say something because something just spoke to me that I want to get out there. For anybody who's just struggling at their job, trying to figure out what's the value, you create the value for yourself.
mm,
Why leave a job with no money to learn how to do a business where you work at a business that you can leverage to learn how to run a business? Many of the things that I'm bringing to Picati now are things that I touched upon in my professional career. So a job isn't just money. Just think about how can I be strategic with where I'm at. Sometimes there may not be any opportunities, but income is a noble thing. But can you flip to something where you can learn a skill that may be important in your next venture? There's
mhm.
always something that you can take away from a place to give you some hope that this isn't just a waste of my time.
Yeah, yeah. I love that you said that because I think some people do need hope. And I remember even at Zion Church, I think there was a panel, and I remember it so vividly, and I don't remember the gentleman who was speaking, but he was like, basically the message was, let your job, pay you to learn how to do a business, like you just said. Like that, I heard that from that panel. And so it's pretty, clear that we can, prosper where we're planted. Maybe not prosper, but we can still learn, right? We can still
Some
profit.
lemonade.
Yeah, we can still profit what we planted, because we at least got money coming in. And I know what it feels like to be at a job that you hate, or in a job that you feel like, that's making you sick and stuff like that, and still needing to be there because you need money. You have to do what Jamil said. You got to find reasons why being there right now for this moment is going to serve you. All the while, you're still getting yourself together to do to make your next move. Like, you're not just there and have to just take it forever, right? Because you said that earlier, like people feel like they stuck and they're gonna be here forever. No, get yourself together and then make a move. And so with that being said, give us one or two things that people should absolutely make sure they do before they exit.
Understand what exiting is going to cost you. When we make decisions, sometimes they can be pressing and emotional at the time, but not really accounting for the reality of it. Have a plan. What are paying my bills are going to look like? What do I need to bring in? How fast has it been for me to get that? Have I ever gotten that before? And sometimes the hardest thing to grapple with is my timing and my desire versus God's timing and his desire.
Woo, say that again.
My timing and my desires versus God's timing and God's desires. Or if you're not a believer, what's the opportunity that's available for you in the market right now?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just a simple market analysis. And what is your value proposition for a customer? Have you proven your business model? If we can sum it up in a short term, before you leave for business, have you proven your business model? Have you generated 6 months of consistent income?
Mm-hmm.
And
an exit doesn't always have to be you exiting to a business. An exit could just be you exiting to another job, another career, or something like that. But still, have you vetted that? Have you figured that thing out before you decide to go? Okay.
Yeah, like when I pivoted from my technical support job to a business analyst job, making almost exactly the same money, but having additional benefits. Mm-hmm. Like you have to make it more granular. The jobs can be in a general same category, but does this one have benefits that's going to support you being able to make moves? Like my first job, it was in the restaurant support industry, and that's a 24/7 every holiday. So working that job not only was a stressful, frustrating job, I worked terrible shifts.
Yeah, I hated that job. For us.
So I made a move where it didn't change our money situation. It changed quality of life because it was Monday through Friday. Mm-hmm. It gave me additional benefits like tuition reimbursement. On its face, the job wasn't much better, but the circumstances around it was a little bit better. And it just allowed me to go one step further. So I was like, just taking a look at what's available to you. Sometimes you have to work that 24/7 support job. And at that time, I was thankful for it. But as soon as I got the opportunity to make the next move, I understood what the next move was, so that when I saw the opportunity, I could recognize it.
I love that. Oh, y'all heard it. Y'all, y'all gotta get yourself together and make sure that you understand the opportunities that are available for you. All right. So, for someone who is looking to exit, just leave them with some final words.
Biggest takeaway, when you make the first exit, it's generally not comfortable, but it's worth it.
I like that. Wow. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, thank you so much. Tell the people where they can find you at and contact you as well.
Well, you can reach me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/n Jamil Ramsey, or on any of my socials at blackguywho_.
Black guy who _. All right. So there you have it. You can find Dr. Jamil on his socials and on LinkedIn. And if you are, wanting support with exiting your job, of course, we run a whole coaching company. And so I have a coaching session called Your Exit Plan. Get some clarity on when to leave and what to do next. And you can go to my website or any of my socials to find out and join that, the exit plan coaching session, or get the replay for that. And then if you are a woman who really is ready to up-level your career, or your business, join me at this year's Thrive 26 Women's Conference. That's going to be held July the 10th through the 12th right here in Atlanta, Georgia. We are going to go in. We have some amazing speakers. I'm going to teach you what it takes to be successful in your career and your business. If you are a coach, we have a high earning coach intensive where we're going to teach you how to build a high earning coaching business. And there's going to be so many connections made. And so to get all that information, go to kikiramsey.com/thrive26. I look forward to seeing y'all all there. All right, now, you know that you have the opportunity to create your own happiness. Go out there and create it. Oh, and really quick, the pre-sale of my book, my new upcoming book, is called Create Your Own Happiness, is on pre-sale right now. And so you can go to my website and get the pre-sale and get that book on pre-sale, or pre-order the book. It's coming out in June. And I can't wait to get that in your hands. All right, y'all. Peace. Thank you, Dr. Jamil. Love you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody.